This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, President Donald Trump is offering a cautiously optimistic update on Ukraine-Russia talks. As preparations begin for a second round of trilateral negotiations, Trump told reporters very good things are happening, though he declined to give specifics. Tehran is pushing back against U.S. pressure. Iranian officials warned that diplomacy cannot succeed under one-sided threats, insisting they have not requested any direct talks with Washington. Latin American presidents are redrawing the regional trade map. Meeting at Panama's Palace of the Herons, the leaders discussed new economic strategies amid the shifting political landscape in Venezuela. A landmark conviction in South Korea. A court has sentenced former First Lady Kim Kyun-hee to prison for accepting bribes in exchange for political favors, a rare legal blow to the spouse of a former president. The Armed Forces of the Philippines is verifying reports of a Filipino casualty in the Ukraine-Russia war. Kiev's military intelligence claims a Filipino national died after being recruited into the conflict, but Philippine officials have yet to confirm the death. Malacanang is weighing legal action over fake medical records. The palace strongly condemned the spread of misinformation regarding President Marcos Jr.'s health, vowing to hold those responsible accountable. And Chris Brown appeared in a London court today. The Grammy-winning singer is facing trial over an alleged unprovoked nightclub attack in the British capital. I'm Faith Agustin. Newsline World starts now. Thousands of Cuban youth flooded the streets of Havana for the traditional Torchlight March, honoring independence hero Jose Marti. Led by President Miguel Diaz-Canel, the demonstration served as a stark rejection of recent threats from U.S. President Donald Trump, who claimed the island is close to failing under a new oil blockade. Jane Cognita has the news.
Illuminating the historic steps of the University of Havana, a sea of torches carried by Cuban students signaled a message of defiance to Washington. The 73rd edition of the March of the Torches commemorates the 173rd birth anniversary of Jose Marti, but this year, the patriotic fervor was fueled by a modern energy crisis. President Miguel Diaz-Canel joined the march as the country grapples with a total blockade on Venezuelan oil and the recent suspension of shipments from Mexico. The mobilization, organized by the University Students' Federation, was as much as a celebration of history as it was a protest against what Havana calls imperialist piracy in the Caribbean.
Estamos acá para conmemorar el aniversario 173 del natalicio del apóstol cubano José Martí y seremos también formando parte del digno pueblo cubano. Ante las crecientes amenazas del imperio contra nuestro país.
The march comes just hours after President Trump mocked the island during a visit to Iowa, stating that Cuba will be failing pretty soon because its oil lifeline has been severed. Since the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro on January 3rd, the Trump administration has blocked all fuel shipments from Venezuela, leaving Cuba to face 20-hour daily blackouts. However, for the youth on the streets, the scarcity has only hardened their resolve. Many participants carried portraits of both Marti and Fidel Castro, whose upcoming birth centenary was also a focal point of the event.
Portar una antorcha representa que el fuego y de los ideales, del compromiso de la juventud cubana sigue vigente. Y esto es un mensaje claro que dejamos de que el pueblo de Cuba está firme, está combativo, y que no cree en ninguna represalia ni en ninguna amenaza del gobierno imperialista.
As the march concluded at the Fragua Martiana, the site of Marti's former imprisonment, the fire from the torches served as a symbolic reminder that while the lights may be out in Havana, the revolutionary spirit remains unextinguished. With China and Russia pledging support and assistance to the island, the stage is set for a prolonged diplomatic and economic standoff in the Caribbean. This has been Jane Cuniter, Global Citizen Correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino hosted Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on Wednesday for high-level talks at the Palace of the Herons. The meeting, held on the sidelines of the International Economic Forum, focused on redrawing the trade map of the region and addressing the shifting political landscape in Venezuela. Carlo de la Peña has the details.
The Palace of the Herons in Panama City became a center of regional diplomacy on Wednesday as President Jose Raul Mulino welcomed Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The bilateral meeting coincided with the opening day of the International Economic Forum for Latin America and the Caribbean, organized by the Development Bank of Latin America, or CAF. Presidents Gustavo Petro of Colombia and Daniel Noboa of Ecuador were also seen arriving, underscoring a coordinated regional push amid growing instability following the upheaval in Venezuela. Official readouts say Panama and Brazil focused talks on expanding trade and investment, with emphasis on logistics and sustainable infrastructure. The forum is among the region's largest economic gatherings this year, drawing more than 450 business leaders from 20 countries. Around 2,500 political and academic figures are expected to debate policies aimed at boosting competitiveness and inclusion through 2026. Despite the economic agenda, Venezuela looms large. Mulino and Lula are reportedly discussing a unified regional approach to political transition and the ongoing migration crisis. The talks signal warming ties between Panama and Brazil, leveraging Panama's role as a global logistics hub and Brazil's industrial strength. As the forum continues, attention remains on Panama to see whether these high-level talks translate into concrete agreements for regional growth. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Tensions are rising in Barcelona as thousands took to the streets to protest the lifting of Spain's pandemic-era eviction moratorium. With over 60,000 households now facing the immediate threat of losing their homes, housing rights groups are accusing the government of abandoning the working class amid record-high rents. Daniela Paulita tells us more.
The streets of Barcelona became a sea of banners and union insignias on Tuesday as the safety net for thousands of Spanish tenants officially dissolved. Chants for the struggle of the working class filled the city squares as protesters condemned the expiration of the eviction moratorium, a protection that has been in place since the 2020 pandemic. Housing unions warn that the lifting of these measures puts roughly 60,000 families across the country at risk of homelessness in a market already crippled by historic price hikes.
Que caigui la moratòria és una notícia totalment nefasta per a les 60.000 persones, famílies en aquest país que ara mateix s'enfronten a les portes d'un desnonament i és un atac directe a les condicions de vida de la classe treballadora. Però és que realment aquesta situació...
Despite the 4-year moratorium, data cited at the rally reveals that more than 173,000 evictions still occurred across Spain due to various legal loopholes. Activists are now targeting all political parties, accusing them of prioritizing rent-seeking and the criminalization of squatting over the basic human right to housing. Protesters are demanding structural reforms, including a ban on utility cut-offs and the implementation of social tariffs to guarantee energy access for the most vulnerable.
De nou, que tenim, per en lloc de fer mesures estructurals com una prohibició de talls, com tenim aquí a Catalunya, o com tarifes socials que garanteixen el dret a l'energia, es fa política a pedaços i oberta a jocs partidistes.
As the temporary protections fade, social organizations fear that the lack of public policy will only widen the inequality gap. With no new national legislation in sight to curb rising rental costs, housing rights advocates vow that this protest is just the beginning of a renewed mobilization to keep families in their homes. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
Iran warns that diplomacy cannot succeed under threats or one-sided demands, saying it has not requested talks with the United States. Prince Tripoli reports.
Iran says it has not sought negotiations with the United States and warns that diplomacy cannot take place under its threats or excessive demands. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said there has been no direct contact between him and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff in recent days, and that Iran has made no request for negotiations. He noted that while several countries are acting as intermediaries with what he described as good intentions, no decision on talks has been made.
هیچ تماسی بین بنده و آقای ویتکاف در چند روز اخیر نبوده و هیچ درخواستی هم برای مذاکره از سوی ما ارائه نشده. واسطه‌های مختلف البته تماس میگیرن، کشورهای مختلف تلاش میکنن که با حسن نیت که نقشی رو ایفا بکنن که ما با اونها در تماس هستیم البته، ولی کن هنوز هیچ تصمیمی گرفته نشده. درخواستی هم از سمت ما وجود.
Araghchi stressed that any future negotiations must be conducted on equal footing and with mutual respect. He said diplomacy cannot succeed if one side attempts to impose its will through pressure or force, adding that unilateral demands undermine the very concept of negotiations.
اگر می‌خواهند که مذاکره شکل بگیره، حتما باید تهدید، زیاده خواهی، طرح موضوعات غیر منطقی رو کنار بگذارن. مذاکره مرام خودش رو داره، باید از موضع برابر باشه، بر اساس احترام متقابل باشه، برای منافع متقابل باشه. اگر کسی بخواد یک طرفه با استفاده از زور به مقاصد خودش برسه، قطعاً اسمش دیپلماسی.
The foreign minister also said Iran remains in steady contact with regional and international partners. He confirmed ongoing communication between foreign embassies and Iran's foreign ministry, as well as direct talks with other ministers, including a recent conversation with Qatar's foreign minister. According to Araghchi, there is a broad regional consensus opposing military threats, warning that any escalation would fuel instability and create serious challenges across the Middle East. He said countries in the region believe military action would only worsen tensions rather than resolve them. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
Up next, the Armed Forces of the Philippines is verifying reports of a Filipino casualty in the Russia-Ukraine war. Kyiv's military intelligence claims a Filipino national died after being recruited into the conflict, but Philippine officials have yet to confirm the death. And Malacanang is weighing legal action over fake medical records. The palace strongly condemned the spread of misinformation regarding President Marcos Jr.'s health, vowing to hold those responsible accountable. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito, pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SM9.
Hala, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Uy, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Ito ang sayo.
Wow! Ang bait ng magnanakaw!
Ito naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko!
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. Diba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila. Easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
The Armed Forces of the Philippines has yet to confirm reports that a Filipino national was killed in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, following claims released by Ukraine's military intelligence agency that a Filipino man died after allegedly being recruited into the conflict. Almar Forzuelo tells us more.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines says it has not received any official report from either Russian or Ukrainian authorities regarding the alleged death of a Filipino national in the ongoing conflict.
As I said po, this is still unverified report as of this time.
AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla made the statement during a press briefing at Camp Aguinaldo. According to Ukraine's military intelligence agency, a Filipino man identified as John Patrick was reportedly killed near Novoselivka in the Donetsk region while allegedly serving with Russian forces. But the AFP stressed that the information remains unverified.
This is still unverified reports po. As of this time, we are conducting direct dapat yung pong sources natin for this. So sa ngayon po, hindi pa po natin ito ma-confirm because we have yet to receive word from official sources.
When asked about reports that Filipinos are allegedly being used as mercenaries or are participating in foreign conflicts, Padilla declined to comment, saying it is too early to issue any statement on the matter.
So hindi po muna tayo mag-speculate po. It's still too early po to answer that.
It can be recalled that just last year, the AFP also verified reports that Filipinos were allegedly being recruited to join the conflict between the two countries. For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SM9 News.
powers of the Philippine president should be reduced, according to a political analyst, amid growing debate over charter change and the country's system of government. MJ Mondejar will give us a closer look at why some experts say structural reform is necessary.
Ang Pilipinas ngayon ay nasa ilalim ng de facto martial law. Hindi man deklarado, pero nararamdaman. Marami ay tahimik dahil sa takot na makasuhan, dahil nakikita na ang mga kritiko ng administrasyon ang mga unang sinasampahan ng kaso habang ang ibang mga kaalyado ay hinahayaan.
This is how Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Levista described the current situation of the Philippines, and some of our fellow citizens share the same view.
Kasi feel ko parang hirap mamuhay sa Pilipinas ngayon. Hayagan ng korupsyon pero ang kinukulong yung mga nag-e-expose. At yung kinukulong, tama yun. In a sense, parang slight martial law na wala ka ng karapatan.
Siguro semi parang ganun. Kasi sa dami ng issue natin sa ngayon, hindi mo maintindihan ng politics kung sino bang tama o sinong mali.
Under the 1987 Constitution, the president is the highest leader of the country. He is the chief executive who enforces the law and the commander-in-chief of the entire military. Among his powers is the authority to declare martial law when necessary. But for political analyst Professor Eric De Torres, too much power is concentrated in one person under the presidential system.
Hindi akma yung presidential system na meron tayo sa kulturang meron tayo. Una sa lahat, yung presidente, kung titignan natin sa presidential system, is head of both the state and the government.
De Torres explains that in the Philippine context, this setup places excessive power at the hands of a single individual. Under the current law, the president controls all government agencies and appoints their officials.
Pag tinignan mo yan at ginamit mo yan sa kontekstong meron tayo dito sa Pilipinas, ginagawa mo ang napakamakapangyarihan ng Pangulo.
For De Torres, it is time to reduce the powers of one president.
So dapat ano yung kailangan mong gawin? I-decongest mo yung kapangyarihan ng Pangulo. Dapat iba yung head of state, iba din yung head of the government, which is the Prime Minister.
He further explained that under a parliamentary system, leaders who fail to perform can be replaced more quickly. Under the present constitution, impeachment is the only way to remove a president, a long and a difficult process.
Ang Prime Minister is technically the caretaker of the government. Meron silang principle na tinatawag na primus inter pares, which means first among equals. Hindi pwedeng sabihin ng Prime Minister na mas mataas siya kumpara sa ibang mga mabatas kasi technically, siya yung chair lamang or caretaker ng government. Mas nagbibigay ito ng stability kasi may continuity. Ibig sabihin na may continuity, hanggat meron kang trust and confidence ng parliament at ng mga tao, you can stay in power and to become a prime minister as long as you want.
The Philippines remains the only country in Asia operating under a presidential system. Any shift to a parliamentary form of government, however, would require charter change, an issue that continues to divide both lawmakers and the public. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondejar, SMNI News.
Malacanang is reviewing possible legal measures against those responsible for spreading false documents concerning President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s health. The palace also strongly condemned the dissemination of misinformation intended to mislead the public. President Catarong reports.
Malacanang strongly condemned the circulation of allegedly fabricated and misleading statements about President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s health, including a purported medical document falsely linked to him. According to the Presidential Communications Office, the document is fake and did not originate from any legitimate medical examination of the President. The PCO clarified that the President is in good condition, capable of performing his duties, and continues to actively carry out his official responsibilities. The palace emphasized that the deliberate dissemination of false medical information is an irresponsible and misleading act and a clear violation of the President's right to privacy. It added that such misinformation causes unnecessary fear and concern among the public and undermines citizens' trust in institutions. The PCO also urged the public to rely only on official statements from authorized government offices and to avoid sharing unverified and harmful content. Currently, possible legal actions against those responsible for spreading the fake documents and false information are being reviewed. Despite the issue, the PCO assured that the president remains focused on his duties and continuing service to the Filipino people. On Wednesday evening, the PCO released a video of the president on social media. The video also shows the president playing with a family dog. In a statement, President Marcos Jr. said he is in good condition and has fully returned to performing his official duties.
Yan lang yung yung sinasabi ko noon, yung sinabi ko sa inyo last week. Ito yung mga inaantay na ako mamatay. Huwag kayong excited. Nasumobra na naman ang pagka-excited ninyo. Andito pa ako.
He revealed that he keeps participating in official duties despite his doctors recommending that he slow down.
Binigyan lang ako ng mga gamot at saka patuloy pa rin yung aking antibiotics pero okay na ako. In fact, nakapag-EDC meeting na kami nung Lunes with most of the cabinet. So I'm back in pero medyo nagtatampo sa akin yung mga doktor ko. Kasi sinasabi nila, wag muna. Sabi ko, hindi ko naman pwede pag-antayin lahat ng mga nangyayari. So, tinuloy ko na lang.
Meanwhile, St. Luke's Medical Center released a public advisory stating that the medical test results circulating on social media allegedly linked to President Marcos Jr. are fake documents with false content. The hospital management encouraged the public to be careful and responsible when sharing information and to avoid spreading unverified or unofficial data. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
Cebu takes center stage today as Travex 2026, the ASEAN region's flagship travel trade exchange, officially opens, bringing hundreds of international buyers face-to-face with Filipino tourism entrepreneurs, giving local products and destinations a powerful push into the global market. Paul Montebon is there to walk us through how this event is putting local destinations on the global tourism map.
Held at the newly built Mactan Expo Center in Lapu-Lapu City, Travex 2026 has drawn 271 foreign buyers from 50 countries, alongside 124 sellers and more than 200 exhibitors. Many of them are proudly representing homegrown Philippine tourism enterprises. The opening ceremony was led by Philippine Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco, joined by tourism officials from ASEAN member states, including Indonesia's Tourism Minister Budianti Putri Wardana. Organizers say the event reflects ASEAN's continuing effort to promote the region as a unified tourism destination. This year's Travex places strong emphasis on local participation, with Filipino exhibitors showcasing hotels and resorts, tour packages, MICE venues, airlines, and community-based tourism products, all hoping to secure partnerships, bookings, and long-term deals with international buyers.
Overall, umabot na po sa over 1,000 total participants. Later on, we're expecting around 1,500 for the opening ceremony. As of today, meron po tayong over 200 buyers. No? Tapos, napakadami pong sellers. Nakita nyo naman po sa Philippine Pavilion po kanina, which comes from many parts of the country. I think it's around over 100 plus.
For local sellers, the event opens doors to global exposures, allowing Philippine destinations from world-class beaches to emerging ecotourism sites to compete on an international scale.
Walking around here at Mactan Expo Center, you'll see Filipino sellers busy talking with buyers from different parts of the world, from resorts to tour packages to unique local experiences. The Philippine tourism gets a chance to be seen, be heard, and booked by global market.
The three-day Travex 2026 is expected to generate new partnerships and stronger market access for local sellers, proving that when it comes to tourism, Filipino products and experiences are ready to shine on the world stage.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, reporting from Mactan, Cebu, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Amid continued food importation, the Department of Agriculture has called on local government units to strengthen local investments to further boost the country's food security. Kai Villan reports.
Of Agriculture urged farmers and local government units to increase investments in livestock and key crops to strengthen local production and reduce the country's reliance on food imports. According to DA Undersecretary for Operations Roger Navarro, the Philippines continues to post a high agricultural trade deficit of around $11 billion or more than 650 billion pesos, indicating a shortfall in the local supply of agricultural products. Navarro made a statement during the Municipal Agri-Fisher Investment Forum in Cebu City, where he encouraged LGUs to invest in bananas, vegetables, coffee, coconut, livestock, poultry, and fisheries. Navarro admitted that the competitiveness of the banana industry has weakened. Meanwhile, coffee and coconut remain among the DA's priority sectors, especially as the coconut industry had long been neglected. He added that the hog industry is gradually recovering from the effects of African swine fever, while fisheries and aquaculture remain vital to the country's food security. However, Navarro stressed the need to further strengthen post-harvest facilities. As a result, the DA plans to establish around 300 drying facilities and mega-cold modular storage facilities this year to help improve food supply and stabilize market prices. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SM9 News.
The Maritime Industry Authority has authorized several shipping lines to operate on routes previously serviced by Allison Shipping Lines. This follows the Department of Transportation suspension of the company's entire fleet after the sinking of MV Tricia Kirsten Free off the coast of Basilan. Sheena Torno reports.
The Department of Transportation has directed the Maritime Industry Authority or MARINA to grant permits to shipping lines that have passed safety regulations. This measure aims to fill the gap or allow travel on the routes of Allison Shipping Lines following the suspension of its entire operation due to the sinking of the passenger vessel MV Tricia Kirsten 3 in Basilan. This is to ensure that passengers still have available transportation despite the incident. Included among the Allison routes where vessels will be granted special permits are those from Zamboanga City to Isabela City, Lamitan City, Sayasi, Sulu, Holosulu, and Bongao Tawi-Tawi. Also included are the routes for Puluan, Dapitan City to Dumaguete City, and Dumaguete City to Siquijor Larena. Currently, vessels are already operating on the aforementioned routes except for Lamitan and Bongao. The agency stated that should there be a shortage of ships, the Philippine Coast Guard is prepared to provide free rides to passengers. Meanwhile, the PCG has deployed technical divers and remotely operated vehicles in the waters of Basilan for intensified search and rescue operation. According to data, a total of 216 passengers have been rescued from the sunken vessel, while 18 have been confirmed dead and 10 others remain missing. Marina has also established help desk at Allison Shipping Lines to provide immediate assistance to the victims and facilitate the quick processing of their insurance claims. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
When we return, President Donald Trump is offering a cautiously optimistic update on Ukraine-Russia talks. As preparations begin for a second round of trilateral negotiations, Trump told reporters very good things are happening, though he declined to give specifics. And a landmark conviction in South Korea. A court has sentenced former First Lady Kim Kyun-hee to prison for accepting bribes in exchange for political favors, a rare legal blow to the spouse of a former president. And Chris Brown appeared in a London court today. The Grammy-winning singer is facing trial over an alleged unprovoked nightclub attack in the British capital. More news after the break.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado. 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/3 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika, at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen, o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
U.S. President Donald Trump has offered a cautiously upbeat assessment of talks involving Ukraine and Russia as preparations get underway for a second round of trilateral negotiations. Trump told reporters that very good things were happening on Ukraine and Russia, though he declined to give details.
Some very good things happening on Ukraine and Russia. Very good things. Very good things are happening on Ukraine and Russia.
The remarks came as Trump departed for a speech on the U.S. economy in Iowa, offering a thumbs-up gesture but no further clarification. A day earlier, the White House described the first-ever trilateral talks between the United States, Russia, and Ukraine held in Abu Dhabi as historic. Following the meeting, U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff said discussions were very constructive and confirmed that further talks are planned. Witkoff also held separate discussions with Russian envoy Kirill Dmitriev, focusing on economic issues. Another round of trilateral talks is expected to take place later this week. A South Korean court has sentenced former First Lady Kim Kyun-hee to prison after finding her guilty of accepting bribes in exchange for political favors, an unusually rare conviction involving the spouse of a former president. Joy Tabanao has the story.
The Seoul court on Wednesday handed Kim Kyun-hee, the wife of former President Yoon Suk-yeol, a sentence of 1 year and 8 months in prison. The court ruled that she accepted money and luxury gifts from individuals linked to the Unification Church in return for political favors during her time as First Lady. Prosecutors said the benefits were intended to influence government decisions, describing the exchanges as a clear case of bribery. Judges stated that the evidence showed a clear quid pro quo, calling the actions a serious breach of public trust. Kim denied the allegations throughout the trial, insisting that the gifts were not connected to official duties. The ruling marks a rare conviction of a former First Lady in South Korea and adds to the country's long history of high-profile political scandals involving top leaders and their families. Meanwhile, Kim Kyun-hee's husband, former President Yoon Suk-yeol, is awaiting a verdict on rebellion charges, with prosecutors seeking a death sentence. Kim Kyun-hee is the wife of former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. The verdict is expected to have lasting political repercussions ahead of upcoming national elections. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Russia says it is ready to host Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Moscow for talks with President Vladimir Putin if Kyiv is ready for dialogue. Yuri Ushakov, senior Kremlin aide, said Putin would welcome a meeting with Zelensky in Moscow, provided it is carefully prepared and aimed at concrete results. Ushakov said the idea of a Putin-Zelensky summit has been discussed repeatedly, including during recent phone calls with U.S. President Donald Trump, and stressed that Russia has never rejected such talks.
Результатов. И президент наш тоже несколько раз, общаясь с журналистами, говорил, что если Зеленский действительно готов к встрече, то мы, пожалуйста, мы приглашаем его в Москву, и при этом гарантированно обеспечим безопасность его и необходимые условия для работы.
Kremlin officials say further three-way negotiations are likely, with the next meeting expected in Abu Dhabi this weekend. But U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Washington will take a more limited role this time, adding that U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will not attend. Meanwhile, Moscow also pointed to a Ukrainian decree signed in 2022 banning negotiations with Putin and has questioned Zelensky's authority to sign binding agreements after his presidential term expired last year. The Cebu MICE Alliance has officially launched its comprehensive guidebook for the ASEAN Tourism Forum, which kicks off this Wednesday. Jim Biosa has more.
The Cebu MICE, or Meetings, Incentives, Conferences and Events Alliance, officially launched the Cebu MICE Guidebook, a travel exchange of the ASEAN Tourism Forum held at Mactan Expo yesterday, Wednesday, January 28. The launch was attended by the key tourism and business leaders, including Department of Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco and Cebu MICE Alliance President Cleofe Albizo. In her message, Ms. Cleofe Albizo, representing the Cebu MICE Alliance, warmly welcomed tourism leaders, ASEAN delegates, industry partners, and members of the media. She emphasized Cebu's readiness to host international events rooted in the collaboration, professionalism, and authentic Cebuano hospitality.
The Cebu MICE Alliance was formed from a shared belief that Cebu's greatest strength lies in collaboration. From the beginning, it was envisioned as a platform where public and private sectors move together. Hotels, venues, suppliers, government agencies, and communities guided by one purpose: to build a MICE destination that is competitive, inclusive, and future-ready.
The 200-page guidebook showcase Cebu's rich culture, cuisine, and diverse offerings, aiming to position the island as a premier destination for both business and leisure. It features comprehensive information on dining, accommodations, event venues, festivals, suppliers, and local performers, serving as a practical guide for event organizers, investors, and travelers alike. This initiative also highlights Cebu's growing reputation as a business meets leisure destination where robust international connectivity is paired with unique local experiences. By meeting the global standards and demands of the MICE industry, Cebu aims to attract more investment, create jobs, and further strengthen its tourism sector. The Department of Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco praised the guidebook as a significant achievement for Cebu's MICE industry, describing it as a clear and credible reference that showcases the province's venues, services, and capabilities.
This guide reflects a shared commitment to professional standards, market clarity, and reliable delivery, qualities that global partners and event organizers look for when choosing a destination. As the first comprehensive MICE guide for Cebu, this serves a clear purpose: to serve in one reference the venues, services, capabilities that position Cebu competitively in the regional and international MICE market.
Alongside the launch, Cebu is hosting the ATF Travel Exchange, or TRAVEX, at the Mactan Expo, solidifying the province's role as an emerging hub for tourism and business events in Southeast Asia. Reporting from Cebu for God and our beloved Philippines, Jim Biosa, SMNI News.
Grieving his late One Direction bandmate Liam Payne, Louis Tomlinson says his new song about him will be challenging to sing live. Meanwhile, Grammy-winning singer Chris Brown attended a court hearing in London ahead of his trial for an alleged unprovoked nightclub attack. Blake Ann has the details.
Louis Tomlinson says his new song about late One Direction bandmate Liam Payne will be challenging to sing live, reflecting on grief and loss in his latest album. The 34-year-old singer opened up about how mourning Payne influenced his creative process, describing the emotional impact as difficult to put into words. He acknowledged that some tracks carry heaviness that may be hard to perform on stage, but expressed hope that his music can offer comfort to listeners. Tomlinson said certain songs are designed to resonate deeply with fans, with the potential to have the power to heal those experiencing similar feelings of loss. The new album marks a personal chapter for Tomlinson, blending reflections on friendship, grief, and resilience. Fans of the former One Direction member can expect a heartfelt performance when Tomlinson tours, as he brings the emotional depth of his new music to the stage. Chris Brown appeared in court in London on Thursday ahead of his trial over allegations of a violent nightclub attack on a music producer. The 36-year-old Grammy-winning singer attended Southwark Crown Court alongside his co-defendant, U.S. rapper Omololu Akinlolu, also known as Hoodie Baby. Authorities alleged that Brown carried out an unprovoked assault at the London nightclub, prompting legal proceedings that could lead to serious criminal charges if he is convicted. Details about the alleged incident and the trial schedule were not disclosed during Thursday's hearing. Both defendants are expected to face the court again as the case progresses. Chris Brown has previously faced legal issues in multiple countries, and the upcoming trial will be closely watched by both fans and the media. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest showbiz.
Toddlers are busy with playtime, a 2-year-old snooker prodigy has become the youngest person ever to perform 2 advanced snooker trick shots, earning dual entries in the Guinness World Records. Stella Maurice will tell us more about this adorable and talented young prodigy.
Manchester toddler Jude Owens, only 2 years old, has captured global attention after securing 2 Guinness World Records for remarkable snooker and pool trick shots, making him officially the youngest performer of both feats in history. Jude first saw the world when he successfully executed a snooker double pot, a style of hitting 2 balls into different pockets with a single strike at 2 years and 261 days old. Weeks later, on October 12, 2025, he became the youngest person ever to land a pullback shot in which the cue ball rebounds off 1 or more rails before sinking another ball at 2 years and 302 days old. What a prodigy! He also guested during the 2025 UK Snooker Championships, drawing attention for his remarkable talent. Jude's unusual skills have placed him among the youngest dual record holders in the history of the Guinness World Records. Jude's father, Luke Owens, first noticed his son's natural affinity for cue sports at home, where snooker quickly became his favorite hobby. To help Jude reach the table, the family has adopted their setup with stools and other aids, given his small stature. The toddler also revealed that his favorite shot is a trick shot. Despite his extraordinary talent, the family maintains that snooker remains a passion for Jude rather than a pressure-filled pursuit, and he still enjoys typical toddler interest outside the game. The story of Jude Owens has since captivated audiences worldwide with viral videos and broad media coverage, highlighting both his unusual skill and the supportive role of his family in nurturing his talent. This is Stella Maurice, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In latest sports update, all-rounder Sophie Malinaw has been appointed captain of the Australia women's team across all formats, marking a major step in her international career. Meanwhile, reigning champion Tigist Assefa is aiming to defend her London Marathon title and repeat her record-breaking performance at this year's race on April 26. Here's Carlo de la Peña for the updates.
Australia is entering a new era in women's cricket, with all-rounder Sophie Malinaw taking over as captain across all formats. The 28-year-old will lead the team for the first time in the opening T20 against India on February 15th.
This leadership change comes as longtime skipper Elisa Healy prepares to retire from international cricket following the upcoming multi-format series. Molyneux will then serve as Healy's deputy for the one-day internationals and the one-off test in Perth, which will mark Healy's final match. Molyneux also brings proven captaincy experience at domestic level, leading Victoria and the Melbourne Renegades to their first Women's Big Bash League title in 2024. A two-time T20 World Cup winner, she now turns her focus to guiding Australia into the T20 World Cup in England this June. Meanwhile, the women's race at this year's London Marathon is shaping up as one of the strongest in history, with several of the fastest athletes of all time confirmed to compete. Asifa will be aiming to defend her title after setting a women-only world record in last year's race, finishing in 2 hours 15 minutes and 50 seconds without male pacemakers. She will face tough rivals, including Olympic champion Sifan Hassan and world champion Paris Jepchirchir, both former London winners. 4 of the 6 fastest women in history will go head-to-head, with Jocelyn Jepkosgei also among the elite field. A former outright world record holder, Asifa says repeating her London triumph will require overcoming these fierce competitors who have beaten her in dramatic sprint finishes at recent global championships. Her focus now is on reclaiming the title and cementing her place among marathon history's fastest women. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the song. It is up to our own freedom of choice to follow this will or to fall away. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Faith Agustin. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.